There we go. Well, good morning and a very warm welcome to everybody in this lovely warm July day that we're having now. It's really nice to see all of you that are here in the room, and welcome to all of those that are going to be catching up on recording. So this is a really special meeting actually, because we have our guest speaker who's here to kind of lead the meeting really a bit more, if that's all right with you, Kev. So I'm going to introduce Kevin Sproston. So Kevin is from The Bridge, and I'm actually going to hand straight over to you and let you tell everybody who you are, what you're doing. They do know all about you, bits of you, and bring everybody a bit up to speed, and then we can have some conversations about that. Right, okay.
Well, first of all, I'll start off by saying thank you for giving us this platform to speak. And yeah, it's I'm moving forward in this role. I'm definitely up for more PFAN meetings, and yeah, I'm going to be about as per the email in August to try and meet and greet and get to know much more of you. Some of you I've worked with previously, some I've not yet had the chance to meet, but I would be very interested in speaking prior with you, before the August meeting, just to get to know more about what you do in the city, and for a good learning experience for myself moving forward. So some of you don't know who I am, so I will just talk briefly on that, because it's my name's Kev. I've lived in Plymouth for quite some time. I joined the Navy when I was 16, being the youngest to join. I've been involved in the community world quite significantly. I've helped start quite a few kind of community groups. Some of them are quite known, like Clean Up Hatch, Hidden Lives, and yeah, I've worked for Neighbourhood Watch prior to this kind of role, of which I was part of the regional team, followed by the national team, having secured an award by the Queen, which was equivalent of an MBE for volunteer services. So I'm very much on it when it comes to volunteering and seeing the benefits of that. So I'm really keen to be utilising this in a food capacity. One of the things where that's kind of transferred over was COVID, where I was part of the Neighbourhood Watch, which was actually distributing food on a mass level to try and feed families, and that is part of the reason why I was asked to actually work for National and look at the collaborative efforts. And one of my roles was to go around the Southwest into more kind of or areas that weren't so affluent, and try and look at the support of what we could do. And it did turn out that there were significant food banks and shortages of food where there was like some high crime areas. And I do think a lot of the domino effects of the country starts off by simple means of food provision in households. I think it has such an impact nationally. That's why I think the work that you all do is so significant. So I'm also a local councillor for my sins, and I sit on the Growth and Infrastructure Board, the Fire Authority for Devon and Somerset, the City Planning, and in case I'm not liked enough, I volunteered to be the Plymouth bus champion. So no one complains about buses, so it's an easy role, that one. But in all seriousness, it's great to be able to try and make some positive changes. Previously worked for an MP as well, so I do try and look at the national picture, and I do have some parliamentary links where I can try and get some insight on kind of things like national funding, and make sure that Plymouth's going to get its share of this. That's enough about me, because that's the bit no one's really that interested in. So let's talk about the bridge. So for anyone that doesn't know what the bridge is, essentially, effectively, to try and put it in the shortest of layman's terms, we're trying to make a big, large food procurement and warehousing and distribution operation. That doesn't sound too layman's terms, that does it? But it's my ambitions is to try and bring about 30 tons worth of food a month when we get fully operational into the city, and our mission is to essentially try and make more and better food available for organisations that are supporting people and communities to become more food resilient. This is kind of government and government funding that's gone through the council. So there is kind of stipulations on how we go about giving that support, but effectively we're going to try and set a membership up. And it's an opportunity for those members to get good quality and appropriate food at severely discounted prices, and ensuring continued availability of food, which, you know, there's plenty of food, but there's also, it's hard to get hold of in a volunteer capacity, you know, and we want to try and get longer in date food and make sure those savings are passed to all the people who are on the ground. I'm very much understanding I'm a small fish in a big pond, given the wealth of experience that everyone has here. And so I will be looking at pushing out a survey soon. I have to make my apologies straight away to Tammy because I wanted to have this available for this meeting. However, I'm currently a bit of a one-man band in this organization, so there was kind of other priorities, but I really want to try and shape this company based on the experience and understanding and your insights of how this can benefit all of you guys, essentially. So where have we been? So I've been kind of in post for about 4 months now, and in that time we've made some great success in moving forward. We've managed to secure the funding available to get this put in place. There's been a good degree of kind of research, surveys, and making the survey, which I need to get out to everyone. We've had a board appointed. We're looking at our kind of marketing strategy, how we're going to go about our logistics procurement. We do have a couple of bids in with some sizable warehouses, and we are looking, and that's one of my top priorities now, is looking at how everyone gets access to this food, where we are with the warehouse and logistics, and due diligence is something that I'm looking at in regards to the amount of policies that we're writing. We managed to get the bank accounts, the insurance, the liability, with, like I say, finalising the membership criteria for everyone, the health and safety policies. And yeah, we feel we're in a pretty strong position moving forward. I think we're ahead of where we expected to be at this stage. However, I understand that there is a degree of pressure. The longer this takes to get, the less we're giving that opportunity for everyone to feel hungry bellies. And essentially that's my motivation, is to actually try and get this supporting and set up as soon as possible. So, we've had our directors meetings. They're happy with where we're at, but I just need to make sure that I get this right at this early stage, because I'm looking at creating a sustainable model that will be able to create a legacy. And so, whilst it could be considered a little hard-nosed that I'm looking at a kind of business element of this, I do need to ensure that we have that sustainability to be able to do this for a long time. I want to create that longevity, and with that longevity comes security. And once we're at an operational level of capability in regards to that money, then I have no interest in creating a chain of bridges. Once we've hit, we've got the equipment and everything we need, that will all be passed to all of the members, all those benefits passed to the members. We are looking solely at supporting Plymouth in its supply of food. And that's pretty much where we're at now. I know it's early days with it only being the 4 months, but given this opportunity to kind of speak to you all, I wanted to keep it a bit more open so that questions could be given. And yeah, I'm always very much open for visits, and I'm interested in actually coming to volunteer with you all to a degree. I mean, I'm not putting myself up be totally abused, but essentially I'm conscious of the work that you do, and I think it's fantastic, and I would like to see what collaborations and projects we can do moving forward. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Thanks, Kev. That's brilliant. That was a very good wrap up, actually.
No.
Can you expand a little bit on the membership at all? Have you looked into that? Because I know that's probably going to be one of the most popular questions that I think there's a few
Yeah.
nods going on there.
So the membership will be, we're currently working through the terms and conditions, and the membership at the moment will be decided by a board, so it wouldn't be essentially in my hands. You'll be given a kind of joining letter, membership card, and essentially what that will be able to do is we will then be in more of a collaboration, because there is selected criteria that is governed by our funding. So, we do have a focus on the resilient side of things. So those initial members will be decided upon by the board itself. But yeah, that's where we're at the moment. I know there's I wish I could go into it in a bit more detail, but that's one of the things we're finalizing at this moment is the membership detail. And once that's done, I can get that out to everyone so everyone knows the criteria for membership. I was pushing hard to try and get it over the line, but we only had the meeting of finalizing some of the membership today with the board. So I didn't manage to get it over the line to show all you directly. But that's without question something I will try and get over to you as soon as possible.
Right, thank you. Is there going to be a limited number of members? I mean, is it going to be, there's only so many, or?
No. The reason being is effectively we will have to manage expectations in regards to the amount of members that would want to join straight away. Obviously, logistically, if I had 50 members all wanting a ton's worth of food, I'd be in a bit of a pickle. But essentially, this is why I'm taking the extra time to make sure that we've got the warehouse so we're of a sizable size, but essentially making sure that we've got the capability to deliver for everyone. And there isn't currently a limit on members, but obviously we're going to try and do it as a staged approach. So we will be looking at kind of a couple of trials to begin with, where we will have a limited amount of people that we work with there, just so that we can understand what goes wrong, what goes right, so that we can streamline it to make, to support as many members as possible who are accepted in.
That's great. Thank you. Hilary, you've got your hand up, and then we'll go to V.
Yeah, just wondering how you see yourselves working alongside FareShare, because FareShare has provided amazing service in the city over the last couple of years. We pick up from them regularly. I'm just wondering if you see there's going to be competition in food coming into the city so that FareShare will have less because of your initiative.
Okay. That's a great question, but the answer is essentially no. There is no competition between us. We're actually working in collaboration with FareShare, and they're very keen for us to be set up. Essentially, FareShare's looking at food waste, I believe, making sure that we don't have as much food waste. The work they're doing is going to be working in alignment with us, and I've been speaking to Shelley. And so we've got a really good collaborative focus on working together so that we can distribute that food. We're going to be looking at procuring longer life food. So yeah, we're very mindful that we're not trying to monopolize or take over from anyone here on a larger industrial level. We are literally working in collaboration support. So I've had quite a few talks with Shelley, and I know our directors have had even more so, and they're actually looking forward for our kind of business or security collective to actually get up and running, because we see some good benefits in synergy moving forward, to try and save costs for everyone. So it's actually in a very positive light. So, but yeah, it's a great question, because I'm glad you raised that up, because I'm sure some other people might think that this is a competitive field, and that's something that we're very keen to ensure that that's not the case. We're here to look at supporting, nurturing, and creating and saving for all people, and that includes the bigger industrial kind of units like FareShare, for example.
That's great. Thanks, Kev. Question from V. So she's just asked, will you be offering a pickup and a delivery or delivery service? And is it more of a shopping experience where you come and pick what you want or order what you want?
Okay, so we will be looking for essentially people to pick up. If that remains so in the future, that's a little unclear, because we have a limited budget, essentially. So the deliveries is not really going to be something that we're looking at doing at this stage. It's going to be more people picking up. In regards to the kind of shopping experience, we're going to be looking at bringing in food by the tonnage. One of the things that we are going to be asking questions about is essentially, what do you want? And that's going to be part of the survey. So effectively, we're going to be looking at bringing in more of the food that is more wanted. And I think that's some of the difference with FareShare's model, is they get given so much from the supermarkets and they try to distribute this. But sometimes the more popular items won't come through in that sense, like a tin of beans, for example. So one of the things that we're going to look to do is actually kind of align the customer, essentially, wants and needs, and bring that in a wholesale procurement. So whilst it's not exactly a shopping experience, but it will be to a degree, we will be bringing in more of what's needed, that's also not available as much. So that's that kind of striking balance. But as we move forward, there will be further opportunities to actually mold. We're still in a kind of bit of a moldable pattern at the moment, and not everything's defined completely, but essentially it wouldn't be a basket coming around our warehouse, but on a larger scale, we are looking to give you what you want on a wholesale delivery. So there's a shopping experience to a degree, but that would be a more collaborative approach.
You're going to be filling the gaps that FareShare aren't able to deliver on, whilst, because instead of 10 or 15 of our organisations going to buy bread, to buy biscuits, to buy beans, that's where you can bulk buy it and get the discount, and then
that discount gets passed on to the consumer. Yeah. That's exactly it. That's why there's such a good collaboration with FareShare. The stuff that they can get hold of is essentially the stuff that we won't be looking at. Essentially, we'll be looking at the stuff that is harder to get hold of. Your kind of standard fare, like you mentioned, the likes of bread, beans, these kind of things is exactly, and you've probably done a lot better job, Fee, putting it in a simplified form than I have. But you're completely right. That is essentially exactly what we're trying to achieve on an industrial level, to be able to pass that to everyone to get that support and needs out there.
What about chilled and frozen foods?
A good question. We have, at this stage, we are looking at the electrics required in the warehouse. To begin with, I would probably say no, but we are focusing on getting that in. So the warehouses that we're looking at, we're also looking at the time delivery to be able to get the electrics and these warehouses, if purchased, fitted in order to get chilled and frozen goods in. So it will probably be a staged approach, where at first I will probably say we're not going to get that immediately, but that is without question something that we are looking at in the future to do as soon as possible. So it feels like a lot of politician answers here. I'm not giving a very straight answer. I wish I could just say yes, but I just want people to understand that it is in our mindset, it is in our aims and ambitions to get, and we are putting in the thought process to make sure this happens in the future by making sure our amenities are just where they need to be for us to have that progress.
Hilary?
So in terms of pricing then, at the minute, Lidl's bread's reasonable. We always buy Lidl's bread. So for this warehouse to be cost effective for us, the bread would have to be cheaper than the bread we can currently buy in a supermarket. Is that something you're looking at? You know, the lowest price available in the shops, and then you'll be beneath that?
Yeah. I'll be very happy to be able to give a yes or no answer. Yes,
excellent.
Absolutely. There would be no point for us to be bringing in food into this city that would be cheaper to buy in a supermarket. That's literally would be just not effective for the city or for us. And you know, we are looking at creating sustainability, and I do believe there is a certain mark which we are trying to hit between making sure that we're sustainable, bringing in that kind of wholesale discounted food, and it's not about undercutting supermarkets. That's why we're going to have, you know, that's why we have this this membership, and the selected membership, in order for it not to be for every single person off the street to be able to come, because then we would be in direct competition with supermarkets and we wouldn't be allowed our funding. But for those members, that is exactly what we're trying to do. We are trying to save them money and get long life food, working in collaboration with what FareShare can offer to give you more options, save the money, and effectively ease the pressure, because there's a lot of food banks shutting down despite there being a need for it. And you know, this is why we're coming in with this operation, to try and stop as much pressure on food banks and give that support to those that need it.
John?
I met with Kevin a while ago, and I can't remember, Kev, forgive me if I didn't mention this, but talking about bread specifically, in the ARC days, we had a really good relationship with Warburton's, who actually provided free bread, which I then, through the ARC, was able to distribute. I can't remember exactly the numbers off the top of my head, but we had a once a week delivery. And from memory, it was something like 300 loaves. Obviously, they are time sensitive for obvious reasons, but it might be worth. I'll try and remember to pass on the details to you, Kev, of the contact I had with them.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. Yeah, appreciate that.
The only stipulation they made was, which was a crazy one, they would only deliver to Co-op, and we had to pick it up from Co-op. But actually, because you're going to have a more bespoke warehouse, then I suspect they'll be happy. It's all to do with, you know, health and safety and their delivery drivers and all that sort of stuff. But I'll pass that on.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Richard?
Just a quick practical question. As you see, Kev, from salt ash across the water, is your funding does your funding limit you geographically?
Yes, it is. It is currently Plymouth. That's not to say that I can't try and see if we can get some appeasement, or given the, you know, the close proximity that you're in. But currently it is yes. However, that doesn't mean that I won't try and to see, you know, what measures we can try and put in to maybe give a degree of flex with that, but at present, that's where we're at.
Okay, I mean, obviously ourselves, as I say, Tor Point are largely Plymouth travel to work areas, which is why we link in with PFAN and benefit greatly from that. But initially, probably membership wouldn't be an option for us, you say, because because of your limits. But
at this current stage, but for me, if you got to know myself, I find these kind of things a little frustrating. And if I can find a way where we can actually, especially if you're part of the PFAN network, can we find a way?
Yeah.
But at this present, I'm still in the setup stages. But once we're established, without question, I will look in to see if this is a practicality that we can kind of arrange.
Okay, no, I thought that might be the case. It's still very interesting to hear what's developing. But actually, I was down at a Trussell Trust cluster, Southwest cluster meeting in Newquay yesterday, and some of the food banks in Cornwall, including Newquay, are buying in from various sources, including Fair Share, up to 90% of what they're distributing. I mean, Saltash are very lucky at the moment with the reverse. It's probably we buy in on occasion to top up particular items. But there's certainly a lot of thought at the moment in Cornwall about developing a similar idea to the bridge.
Yeah.
Buying, but also possibly linked into providing food, cooking facilities, social amenities, and so on. So it certainly seems the way things are going. You're building a sustainable sourcing for what we're having, for food. So
yeah. And moving forward, we do have education as a strand that we will be tying in with, and I know that I've spoken to Tammy about this already, who will, I'm sure, once we're up and running, be very keen on where we're sitting on an educational strand, and I'm sure there'll be collaborative workings to have, without question, further down the line. So, yeah, I mean, it's obviously at this moment the focus is the setup and the logistics on getting this food into Plymouth, which is the main thing. But yeah, future plans will include the educational side of it, without question, and where we go and how we improve collaboratively. But yeah, no, it sounds similar. And I'd be interested to kind of see how they develop with us, and I could potentially get in touch with them and see, where we could bounce off each other with some ideas. That could be quite a good thing for me.
Just thinking about your demographics as well. You probably wouldn't be aware of this, Kev, but a lot of Saltash Food Bank's customers are from Plymouth. Is there any way, Richard, that you'd be able to get some stats over regarding that? Because that would obviously help Kev's case in that. Just
absolutely, yeah.
Stats obviously are always helpful.
Yeah, I can do something with the stats. That's no problem.
Brilliant, thanks, Rika.
We have been dialing back a bit on our direct support, as you know, because we to encourage, we passed our sort of Tesco link over to Plymouth Food Bank, for example, and we're encouraging our clients to contact Plymouth support agencies, just so they're tied into a network rather than coming across the bridge to collect food and going back. We think that it's so important that the wider net, the background support. So it's not yes, we're like first tier emergency food provision, but behind that, if we can encourage our Plymouth customers to tie in, who live that side as opposed to work there, to tie into Plymouth agencies, we feel it's a better solution for them, because of all the other social support that goes with it. But we say, as Rika says, we can certainly give you an indication of how many the proportion we're still supporting from Plymouth.
Yeah, that'd be very handy. Thank you.
The question in the chat from V as well, just to say, you may not have the exact answer, and I don't expect it.
He knows me too well.
She does. But will the pricing be similar to Fair Share, which they're currently paying £20 for 50 kilos?
We haven't. I could give you an exact answer. We haven't got round to the exact pricing structure and how we're going to do it. I mentioned earlier about different trials, and part of those trials will be how we go about pricing. Is it going to be on weight? Is it going to be a more individual cost item solution? But that's part of the trials that we're going to be doing, so that we can actually work out what's good for us logistically and what's actually good for the consumer. But yeah, one of those trials will be doing it the way Fair Share does it, if I could be absolutely blunt, and whatever proves to be best as a result of those two trials is probably the way that we go forward negotiating. When we get the warehouse and we bring that first load in, and we make those mistakes needed so we can streamline in the future, without question that will become more evident. And I'd be very keen when we're in that position to come and speak to you all again, and hopefully by that PFAN meeting, face-to-face meeting, there would be even more answers, because we are moving at quite a speed. But yeah, I mean, it's you're correct. I don't have the answer, but I will shortly. Once we complete those trials, we will be in a position to give those answers out.
Great, thanks, Kev.
Hi, Kev. Sorry, I'm not au fait with Zoom, and I've been looking for the hand. I just can't find it.
That's right.
I'm a Teams man. I do apologise. Just a very quick question: is there going to be any other essentials that you'll be supplying, like basic toiletries and things, or is it solely food?
Our focus is going to be more directly on food. That's not to say if the opportunity arises and the demand's there, that's not something we wouldn't go down. When we pass out these surveys, if there is a huge demand of people saying, can we do this, then it's something we will look at. But effectively, we would want to be focusing 95% on the food security side of things. But yeah, that's not to say it's not a possibility. It's all we're going to be looking at a wholesale procurement. So if the demand's there, then without question, it's something we may look at if logistically we can do it. Just at this stage, it's probably a bit premature for me to give a guaranteed yes, like half of this Zoom, I'm afraid. But that's not to say we wouldn't.
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. That was a great question. Just thinking about some of the churches, obviously, while we've got John here as well. If a church wanted to become a member and we had a few churches that wanted to become members, would they be doing that independently, or would it be through TPT that would become a member on their behalf? Would that be more financially beneficial for them as a group?
I think I've given this a bit of thought in regards to groups that wouldn't want as much food. But yeah, I mean, effectively, I'm willing to work with John in what he would suggest here. I'd have no issues going through TPT as a caveat for that, or if there's a collaborative amount of churches that could actually come and take it and distribute it themselves, they could have a singular membership. I don't see any issues with that. As long as it's being distributed in the criteria that gets posed in the terms and conditions, how people want to logistically manage it, if that is a cluster of churches that distribute it amongst themselves once they've collected it from us, that's absolutely fine. I mean, even if we may be able to go to a stage of saying, look, we could break down half of this and keep it to one side. But I'm just at this stage of the, it's in my mindset of how we break that up. But yeah, I mean, I don't see any issues with that effectively.
Yeah, thanks, Tammy. I mean, it's a great question, and I appreciate your answer, Kev. I'm encouraging the churches to think more collaboratively because of this issue of their scale and range of demand is quite a widespread.
Yeah.
To take advantage of the sort of wholesale nature, then I think it makes sense for them to work together a bit more. And if TPT can be that conduit, then that I'd be delighted to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm more than happy to work with you, and we can talk in more depth when I've got the warehouse.
Yeah.
But yeah, how we make this a success. I'm more than happy to have a separate conversation with yourself, and if TPT want to be the lead for that, then that's brilliant for me, because it logistically that's simplified. But yeah, I understand from our previous conversation about the widespread nature of the work the churches are doing and the different demands, and how some might not need as much as compared to others. But we will work something out without question.
Okay,
that's essentially what I'm here for. I want to get over any sort of barriers and make sure this happens.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. So another question. I've got full of questions, as you can tell.
All right.
The reason being is obviously this recording goes out to a lot of people, and not everybody that receives this recording is a food aid organisation. We have some people that are signed up to FareShare, for example, working, so it might be a charity, for example, that have their own group of service users regularly, and they are buying in from FareShare and buying in externally to provide just their cohort. Would they be allowed to be a member or not?
That's going to come down to the membership criteria, which hasn't been finalised and put out. This is just going back to the stipulations of our funding, and because the funding is to make it food is a focus on food resilience, and that essentially is how that's costed and how people act in regards to supporting their community. So that's got to come out. I mean, effectively on August the 15th, that will be finalised, and we will have the directors there as well, because it will be going up to directors' decision on who becomes a member as per that criteria. So it's a good question. It's one I can't fully commit to at the moment, because we're still in the negotiation parts with myself as the operations manager and the board on exactly what constitutes that. And but that will be coming out in the membership application, which we're working on, and we're close to finalizing. But that membership application should explain the criteria, and if people are meeting that, then that's absolutely fine. But they would have to, as part of their application, that application will go to the directors to make that informed choice, and then we'll move from there. So again, it's not the clearest of answers, but it's the answer of the position I'm in at the moment that I can only give.
No, that's fine. Thank you. I'm trying to ask every question that I think anybody would want to ask you while we have
that's fine.
as you can tell. So looking at, as everyone's aware, that we've got an in-person meeting on the 15th of August, and that's going to be held at Four Greens Community Trust. So that's going to be a couple of hours from 10 till 12. And you yourself, as you say, Kev, you're going to be there to meet and greet people, etc. You say the survey should be ready by then?
No, the survey should be ready well before then. I will make sure that's I've got you down on my list as someone to pass it to straight away, so that can be distributed. What will be ready by then is the membership criteria. So we want to get the survey out to get those results back, so that we can look at our orders, because by August 15th we will have a warehouse or a solution to bring in food into the city. What food that is will be dependent on the kind of surveys. So the surveys is something I want to get as soon as possible to everyone. It's just I had other priorities in regards to the logistics of, but yeah, just to clarify, in August it will be the membership criteria and the terms and conditions. So I like to have potentially people who are willing to professionally look at that membership, so that our board can actually go through them, so that when we do come straight away, there will be a degree of members already in tune, aligned, and for us to be able to quickly start distributing food. So there isn't any sort of pause. So we get the food in, we look at distributing it as soon as possible.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. We know that some of the members of the PFAN network aren't comfortable with filling out forms electronically.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay if they get in touch with me, because most of them have they're on the WhatsApp group, and if they would prefer it to be posted to them, are you able to do that? And then I can go and collect, and one way or another. I just want to make sure
Absolutely.
that everybody has their voice and everybody is heard.
Without question, you know, in no way should this, you know, whilst I'm leading this operation, should anyone have any sort of issues with the process that we've got for application, I will find a way around it without question. And if that requires, you know, myself at a point to work with you, Tammy, in any capacity, you know, and I want to make that very, very clear, because you're right, that I'm very conscious that, you know, there is a degree of questioning, and that's due to the funding, essentially, and we've got to hit that criteria. But anyone who has any sort of struggles in that capacity, I don't want this to be a burden or a pressure, and I can't make this strong enough. I will make the time to come meet with you, Tammy, so that, you know, no one gets left behind in that sense.
That's great, thank you. And if you wouldn't mind bringing some hard copies to the meeting in August, that would be great. Just in case anyone's not been able to do anything, they turn up and they want to be able to fill a survey in. Again, it might be a bit late, but at least you'll have everyone's got the opportunity then, whatever their timelines are as well. A couple of things just in the chat. Rika's just popped in there for Saltash Food Bank. 19.2% of their clients have a Plymouth address, and that's just from April this year.
Okay.
And Hillary's mentioned August is right in the middle of the school holidays. Will there be anything at the bridge for the children we are looking after to do? Well, I'm not sure what you're referring to, Hillary. Are you talking about the August meeting?
Yeah, I've got 3 children that day, 3 grandchildren. August isn't the best of times to have an in-person meeting. I could do an online meeting with 3 children, but, you know, is there anything up at Four Greens that could be put on for children?
We're not asking you to come and stay for 2 hours. Probably should have made that a little clearer. So thank you for bringing that up. It's more of a drop-in meeting, so you can come in, have a chat, and then leave. We're not expecting people to stay for 2 hours. It's not sit around a table at all. It's really a case of if you've got anything that you want to talk to Kev about, come and meet him in person. It's not a compulsory meeting that we're asking, so it wouldn't be recorded in the same way. There'll also be the opportunity to have a look at Four Greens and just to look at their business model. And I don't know if I can come to you, Eve, if the social supermarket should be up and running by then. So it's just able to have that conversation with the team there.
Oh, I don't know the answer because I haven't been in the building for a week. So, but if that's something that people are interested in, it would be great to find out from this end, you know, what's available, and certainly on the day. yes, I'm very happy to do that. But if you want to come up and see my little room where I'm still operating separately as a food bank, you'd be very welcome to do that as well.
Lovely, thank you. And there's also going to be the opportunity, Jackie from ADODO is going to come down again, just if you need any support or if you need to update something and you're not sure how to, we'll be there. It is more of a drop in. So I'm sure we can, yeah, bring the kids along and I'll entertain them for 20 minutes if you want to talk to Kev. It's really not a problem. I don't know why I offered that and now that's gone out on recording, but there we are. I'm
Yeah,
going to have a crash. Are there any other questions for Kev while we're all here? No, Yep, Eve. Are you muted, Eve?
There we go. It's just a question of interest, really. So the whole model for this project, is that something very, very brand new, like as in none as others in the country or maybe in Europe anywhere? I know certainly some of the more Eastern Europe countries have got some excellent things going on. Is it based on something? Are you looking at anything else?
I've not found anything that's exact like this, to be fair. There may be some that have similarities, you know, but if you have a look at even some businesses, if you have a look at things like Rogers, for example, that was able to bring in this large amount of food and they found that kind of profitable balance in order to, so on a business front, there is more similarities. The difference with us is the fact that we want to be able to do this on a wholesale, but make sustainability. I mean, the Ark was fantastic in what it did. And, you know, I think for myself, there's a balance between the kind of Ark, these kind of wholesale business units, where we can actually make those profitable margins for sustainability, but actually make sure that the profits actually go back to helping the community, put it into an educational kind of remit and form, and just making that extra sustainability and support that's needed for all the people on the ground, essentially everyone on this meeting. And I think that's the balance we're looking at hitting. So yes, while there's similarities, I don't think there's anything exactly like what we're doing here. I think it's a bit pioneering, which is also a little bit scary. You know, that's why I'm being very cautious in the setup of this, because I really believe in this. I did give up my national job to come do this, because I believe in it. I really do believe in it, and Plymouth's often been trailblazing in some of the works it does, and I think if we get this right, this could have huge connotations on food security in the future and food resilience, and I really believe in the model. So I'm very passionate, very keen, and if there was similar people doing something similar like this, please tell me, because I would love to see how their working models proving successful. But yeah, for myself, I've not found any exact similarities, but there is comparisons with lots of different units.
Thanks, Kev. That's brilliant. So, has anyone else got any other questions at all, or anything they want to share?
Just one more, sorry.
Yeah.
Kev, you may have already mentioned this and I missed it, but is for membership, what's the geography of that? Does it have to be a Plymouth postcode, or is it travel area, or what's the demographic?
The funding that's come in is for it to be Plymouth.
Yeah.
You know, that is our initial funding. Obviously, with it being our initial funding, that is the stipulations that we have to go by. How we work in the future, you know, that could be something that, you know, we can look at and see if there is some supported networks that we can work around, essentially. I don't like to say no to anyone effectively who's trying to do good. But we also have to be mindful that, you know, this is a degree of money that I'm bound by, and that currently is the Plymouth area. So whilst I will look to support and assist anyone outside of that area, the initial wording is I'm bound by the Plymouth area. But, you know, I will see what I can do in the future, and I will always be a supportive figure to anyone who's trying to do good.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. So, well, thank you very much, Kev. Absolutely brilliant, really informative. We've kind of taken an hour already.
That went fast. I'll put my
very
email in the chat.
Brilliant, thank you.
Just for anyone who wants to get hold of me directly, and like potentially if I could come and speak one-to-one before the 15th, I will try, and if the diaries allow. So
I'll send out your email with the recording as well.
Thank
And then people can have that. And then if you've got any questions, as Kev said, go straight to Kev or come to me, and then I can go straight to Kev, either or either. We'll get you there one way or the other. And hopefully, you know, we'll see some of you in the August one. If you like the idea, and this is to those watching the recording as well, if you like the idea of regular drop-in ones, then we're more than happy to do that. I know the last one we did was, I think, was back in March. Everybody found it really nice to come in and just meet face to face, and just, we did a 3-hour drop-in, but we felt that was probably a little too long. So, but we thought we'd probably try and do at least 2 a year, but we can do more. So as I say, this is your network, so we're here for you. So just let me know what you want. But yeah, so I'll say goodbye to everybody, and thank you to those on the recording. And we look forward to seeing you all on the 15th of August in person. If not, we'll be back online on the 12th of September at 10 o'clock on a Thursday, like normal. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I will sign off for the recording and say goodbye to everybody who's joined us on there.